One of the main categories of questions in the reasoning section of the IBPS is on coding. What exactly is a code? We're all familiar with the idea of coded messages in movies. When a hero wants to send a message to the heroine but doesn't want the villain to come to know what the message is, he writes the message in a code. Simply put, a code is a set of rules for converting a message so that no one else understands it. Imagine there's a sender who has to send a message to a receiver. He doesn't want that anyone else other than the receiver should understand what the message is. So, he takes his original message, codes it to create an encoded message. This encoded message is then sent to the receiver, but the receiver now has to extract the original meaning of the message from this encoded message. So, the receiver decodes it to create a decoded message. In the IBPS, coding questions can be on words, alphabets, numbers, or symbols. This is a very commonly occurring question type, and each exam will definitely have a few coding questions. Like all other questions in the reasoning section, the structure of this kind of a question is fairly standard. You will be given either a code or an example of a coded message in the question. You will have to figure out what the code is and you will have to apply this code on something else. There will be multiple choices and you will have to choose the correct coded words or numbers or the decoded words even. Let's look at the different types of coding that can be asked in the IBPS. One of the main categories in the IBPS is alphabet coding. Alphabet coding is when you take a word and transform its letters into something else. Alphabet coding is when you take a word and encode it such that each letter in the word is replaced by some other letter. One type of alphabet coding is jumbled words. Essentially, in this kind of a question, a word is given and the letters in the word are rearranged so as to read as something else. There will be a logic behind how these alphabets are rearranged. You have to arrive at the logic and then reapply that logic to another word. For example, here in this question, the word pineapple is jumbled in a certain way to read something, and the question is asking you to apply the same jumbling logic to Washington. What you have to do here is look at the jumbled word and figure out what the logic is. If you look carefully, you see that the first and the last letter of the word pineapple are in their same places, whereas all the other letters are written in reverse. Therefore, if you apply the same logic on Washington, you shall get this. The second kind of alphabet coding is letter substitution. In this kind of coding, a word is taken and each letter in the word is substituted by some other letter. This substitution also is based on a certain logic. You have to understand what logic it is behind the substitution and apply the same logic on another word to figure out what the coded word would be. For example, here in this particular question, pineapple has its letters substituted so it reads something else, and you are asked what Washington will convert to. Now again, if you look at this, each alphabet in pineapple is replaced by the following alphabet. For instance, P is replaced by Q, I is replaced by J, A is replaced by B, and so on. By that same logic, Washington shall transform to this. One of the most commonly occurring types of coding questions in the IBPS is word substitution. Now in word substitution, an entire word is substituted by some other word. For instance, let's look at this question. The question says, if blue is green, green is red, red is yellow, and yellow is purple, what color is an apple? Now this is a word substitution. We know an apple is red in color, and according to the question, red is coded as yellow. So the answer here shall be yellow. The fourth type of coding is numeric coding. In numeric coding, a word is given and each letter of the word is replaced by a number. In this example, BLUE is coded as 5678, SANG is 1234, and you are asked how to code bangles. Now this code is a simple substitution code where B is substituted by 5, L is substituted by 6, E is substituted by 8. So if you just replace that in the word bangles, you shall get this number. The last type of coding is symbolic coding. Now here a symbol shall replace a word or an alphabet or a mathematical operator in a particular question. For example, in this question, plus is represented as an @ minus is coded as a hash, multiplication is coded as a $sign. So then this expression given here, 5 @ 1 hash 2 $3, is actually 5 plus 1 minus 2 multiplied by 3, which has the value 0. We shall look at a 3-step process of how to quickly solve any coding question. The first step you should always do is to note down the coded words. Step 2 is to figure out the code and then apply the code to the question. Step 3 is to choose the correct answer. Let us look at this with the help of an example. Given this question, in a particular code language, she looks pretty is pat cat rat. He dances is bat cat. She is fat is yat tat sat. He ate apples is cat mad bat. And you're asked, what is the code for the word dances? The first step is to note down the coded words. Once we've noted them down, we have to figure out what the code is. Here we see that in the sentences where she occurs, the word yat is common, and in the sentences where he occurs, the word cat is common. So we can figure that these are the following words that have been coded, that she has been coded as yat and he has been coded as cat. Step 2 is to apply the code to the question. We know that he dances is that cat. From the previous step, we know that he is cat, that leaves dances is that. Now look at the options and choose the option which equates that with dances. Let's look at some tips and shortcuts for solving a coding question. First, you should check for these commonly occurring codes. That is, shifting of a letter forward, reversing of a word, changing the odd and even letters, and a mixture of all of the above. These are the most commonly occurring coded question types in the IBPS. And so if you're not sure of what the logic is or if it is not easily evident to you, just check for these commonly occurring things. It is very likely that the coded question is following one of these logics. Second is that you should always write it down. Most codes in the IBPS, most of the codes, are generally substitution codes, wherein one alphabet is substituted by another alphabet, an alphabet is substituted by a number, one word is substituted by another word. So writing it all down will help you to solve it faster. For example, if you remember this particular example that we had previously, if blue is 5678 and sang is 1234, then what is bangles? Writing it down helps us get to the substitution. Always remember that the type of codes and coding questions asked in the IBPS exam are fairly standard, so a good bit of practice in this particular reasoning question type is going to help you.